Waste. Waste is a sign of our time. Show me the waste you produce, and I'll tell you whether you live alone, whether you have children, what you had yesterday for dinner, what are your secret hobbies, and even your bank account number. So waste is a lot more than we can imagine. It tells a lot about the way we live and who we are. We tend to think ourselves as a generation that has invented lots of things, that is fantastic. But our descendants, probably in 200 years' time, they will look back at us and say, like, this generation, among other fantastic things, they generated lots of waste. The last 100 years, we have generated more waste than the rest of humankind in history together. And that's, I think, it's a sad record. So I'm going to talk about waste, but about how are we going to fix this problem. I'm going to talk about zero waste. But before talking about zero waste, very quickly about waste. What is waste? Waste is ugly. Waste is a mistake. Waste is an inefficiency in a system. Waste is something that we really have to eradicate. But the good thing about waste is that waste doesn't exist in itself. We create waste. And we create waste when we mix things. Because when we are at home and we are cooking, or when we dispose of something, it's paper, it's organics, it's separate. It becomes waste when we mix it together. If it's separate, we have glass, we have plastic, we have cartons, we have batteries, we have organic. All this can be recycled, composted, if we just keep it separate. So what I mean with that is 70 or 80% of the work is already done, and we can do it at home. Municipalities, together with people, we can 70, 80% of the waste can be composted or recycled. The last 20% is about industrial responsibility. It's like the companies have to make an effort so that that is recyclable. So, waste. This black bag where basically we hide our shame, the thing that we don't want the others to see. But if we look inside waste, we see that it's mostly resources. As I explained, more than 1/3 of what is in our waste bag is food waste, is garden waste, is biodegradable, is compostable, you can make biogas out of it. More than 1/3 is recyclables. It's glass, it's metals, it's paper, cardboard, it's plastics. So it's easily done. As I said, 70, 80%, it's something that we can do ourselves. If we do this thing right, it's a lot easier for the industry to recycle. Then, of course, you have between 1/4 and 1/5 of the waste that right now it's a bit more difficult to recycle. And that is where we have to engage with the best minds in this world to design a system that we can work on that. But right now, different countries really throw away a different proportion of the waste. And I say throw away. I've never been there. I don't know where away is. If you think about where throwing away is, you'll see that it's not another planet. What do we mean when we say we throw away something? Throw away means that we take those resources that we had there, be it recyclable or not recyclable, and we put them in the ground where it pollutes the soil, the rivers, and it pollutes also the air. Another option is to landfill it, to bury it in the sky. You burn it, you break the molecules, so that it can never be a material again that it can be used for the same thing, and it turns into CO2 and other toxics. What these two things have in common, landfills and incinerators, is that they try to make waste disappear. They want to, like, yes, this black bag, take it out of my sight. This is not my responsibility. Get it out. What zero waste, and now I'm getting into zero waste, what zero waste is about making this waste very visible. Because if you don't know what is the problem, you cannot fix it. And as long as you put it in place, nobody has access to it, then you're not going to fix the problem that we are in. Zero waste. What is zero waste? Zero waste is lots of things. It's self-explanatory as a word, but zero waste is a philosophy, but it's also a strategy in itself. It is a goal, and it is a message. Zero waste for me is really like lots of committed people who work with organizations, with companies, with municipalities, with universities, with the best minds in this world to make sure that this 1/4, 1/5 of our waste is not waste anymore. It turns into resources, how to make that recyclable. So we say in the zero waste meetings, if something cannot be reused, repaired, recycled, composted, industry should not be making it, and we should not be buying it. And we have to fix this. And that's lots of things what zero waste is about. But you might be thinking, this is another fantastic philosophy that this guy is trying to sell here, but that's how do you do that? Going to now talk about a concrete example. Concrete example that I think that could be copied also everywhere. The town of Capannori, 50,000 inhabitants in Tuscany, in Italy. Back in 2003, this was a normal town, as you can think. Had around 10% recycling, 70% it was going of the municipal solid waste into an incinerator. Well, say it's okay. They said they were doing okay, but a group of committed citizens led by a primary school teacher decided that we need to do more. And inspired by the zero waste experience of San Francisco, decided to talk to the year and propose a different way. Zero waste target for 2020. And they changed the ways they collect the materials and the waste. They jumped on only 1 year from 30% to more than 70% separate collection. Right now they are above 80%. So as you can see, it's only this 1/4, 1/5 left that I was talking about. And zero waste also a lot of education. It's really you have to work with the community, with the companies and everything. So what did they do? Education. Children at school. This is the museum of bad design, industrial mistakes, basically things designed not for, well, that cannot be recycled. So the children in the schools, they were told to go, well, to observe their everyday life, and the things that you have in everyday life that you cannot recycle or compost, bring them and let's study them. So the children came up with this museum of bad industrial design. And more than that, they decided to take initiative and send letters to the companies producing these goods, asking them to really produce something that can be incorporated into the economy in the future, so that they are the future and they want this to be recycled. Another example is it's exactly in Capannori, in this town of 50,000 inhabitants, where Efe Corte was born. This is the first shop in Italy that sends goods in bulk, so you can as much as you want. It's local products, they come from 70 kilometers around the shop, around the area, and everything without packaging. All the packaging here is reusable, is recyclable, or is compostable. And you can go buy your own packaging. And you want 1 liter, you take 1 liter. And here you have cereals, you have pasta, you have oil, you have milk, you have honey, you have soaps, you name it. So that's a good example. This has been an example of a successful experience. There's more than 60 possible franchises in Italy that want to copy this model, and also in other places. And that's thanks also to the zero waste strategy, how do you involve the community. But as I said, zero waste is about making waste very visible. So once you have separated this 80%, how do you work on the other 20%? So the people in Capannori decided to let's go to see what is left in there that cannot be recycled. For example, coffee. Italians love coffee, as you know. What did they do? Well, they found that one of the things that they find a lot is these coffee capsules from Nespresso, Lavazza, etc., these kind of companies that in theory they are recyclable. It's made aluminum and coffee grounds. Aluminum is highly recyclable and coffee grounds. But the fact that it's recyclable doesn't mean that it gets recycled. So they organized a meeting, a friendly letter to the companies, coffee producing companies, but also food industry. And they met to discuss how to avoid this waste and ending up in the landfill. And they're working on this process. Another example, they saw that there's lots of shoes. The shoe industry was quite strong in northern Italy before, but now it has declined because of outsourcing of production. What we see in the shoes these days is basically based on fashion. So they are not supposed to last. The soles are not exchangeable, not repairable. The textiles have chemical products in it. So that means that you throw away lots of them and they cannot be repaired. What they did is they went back to the old shoe producers in the region, and which are now in decline, and decided to work on biodegradable soles with textiles that are done water-based glues and everything so that it's not toxic, it can be repaired, and it can be recycled. This, again, has boosted jobs, it has recovered a sector that was going down, and it is reducing the waste in there as well. So this can be done. It's about using the lines that we were talking about. Panoloni, that's diapers or nappies, depends how you want to call it. Again, that's cellulose with plastic, with a bit of organic compound, etc. There's lots of them. What they did is they say, okay, another entrepreneur in the community organized women in the community to start sewing the cloth nappies so that they could be used in kindergartens and also spread in the community. That, again, created jobs in the manufacturing sector, in the cleaning sector, because you have to clean them and wash them, and it reduced the waste. So again, it's another example of how a zero-waste economy can improve. Reducing waste, focusing on how much waste you produce, how do you shrink that part, you create innovative ideas in the production process that are local and create jobs. This, when Capanori decided to go for a zero-waste strategy for 2020, the others, there was no political support for this. It took a brave mayor to go for it, and it was seen as they were crazy. Only in 2008. Right now, there are almost 60 towns in Italy that have signed up for the zero-waste strategy for 2020. They see that it's possible, and that is the right way forward. This is expanding also in other places in the world, but in Spain, in England, in the Netherlands, in Belgium, etc. We have more examples, and I hope that also we can have examples of the zero-waste strategy also in Estonia soon. Europe is completely dependent on the rest of the world for our resources and our consumption. We import 4 times what we export. We are completely dependent, not only in fuels. In biomass, we import 3 times more than what we export. That means that we cannot run a throwaway society because sooner or later, either we give back to the rest of the world or we stop taking from the rest of the world. This is, again, that's not sustainable. You're familiar with this thing. Make love, not war. How is that related to waste? Well, that was the slogans of the peace movement back in the 60s in the US, that spread around the world. And it changed lots of things. It didn't achieve everything it wanted, but it changed lots of things. Ending war. It has been with humankind since always. What we say in the zero waste movement is that zero waste is a kind of the new peace movement. Why? Because if we look at the last 3 centuries, 4 centuries, you'll see that most of the wars or conflicts are about resources. Oil, coltan, water, copper, diamonds, you name it. And in a world with an increasing population and with the price of resources going up, we're going to have more and more conflict because of resources. So this is my invitation to you to join the zero waste movement, to start these initiatives that don't take that much. Just start at the local level with your family, with your friends, with your organizations. Talk to the mayor. Start with some municipalities, and why not make Estonia the first zero waste country in the world? So have fun, common sense, and make love, not waste. Thank you.